our date for departure kept getting put back and back and back because the boats were really, we were actually crazy to do this because we ended up with a couple of boats that had no business attempting a voyage like that. And it was, we were crazy to sail to Gaza, and it was amazing that we ever got there. We that the Israelis probably wouldn't let us pass. So we made every effort to have people on board who were prominent enough that there would be a lot of noise if Israel sank our boat. We had an 80-year-old Catholic nun with us, and she was quite popular with the journalists. We also had Hetty Epstein, who is a Holocaust survivor, and now she's 85 years old, and they don't like her in Israel because even though both of her parents died at Auschwitz, she's very, very outspoken about the Palestinian cause. She's anti-Zionist. She's an American, lives in St. Louis, but as I said, was raised in Germany. She was important to us. We had Jeff Halper, who's the head of ICAD, which is the organization in Israel, in Jerusalem, which rebuilds homes of Palestinians demolished by Israel. We had a Greek member of parliament coming with us. And so we had one of the most, it turned out to be really important people we had with us was Tony Blair's sister-in-law, Lauren Booth, who is the sister of Tony's wife. And she was tremendously popular with the journalists because they thought this was really interesting that the British Prime Minister, actually he was no longer the Prime Minister of England, but he was a special envoy to the Middle East. So Lauren, who didn't have much good to say about her brother-in-law, was even more anxious to go because she wanted to show that if Tony Blair was afraid of going, she certainly wasn't afraid of going. So the time that we were in Cyprus was very important for us because they got to know us as individuals, and we felt that if and when the Israelis stopped our boats, it would be harder for them to pass us off as a bunch of hippies, young, unemployed, people who had nothing better to do than try to create problems for Israel, because the press already had all of these profiles with us, and we knew that if anything happened to us, this would be what would come out. They would show that we were people. One of the things we did a couple of weeks before we left is that we posted on our website, our Free Gaza website, an invitation to Tzipi Livni, who was like the foreign minister, I believe, in Israel. And we posted an invitation that said, we're going to Gaza, why don't you come along with us? And of course that was on our website. A few days before we left, we got a letter, an official letter, which I actually have because it came to me because I was the person who was monitoring that email address. So they sent an email saying, we understand that you've invited, Ms. Livni to go with you on the boat, and we really can't let you go to Gaza. You mustn't go. If you have humanitarian aid, please give it to us, and we will deliver it for you. But this is a war zone. We can't allow you to go to Gaza. And we wrote back and said, they said, we understand that you're humanitarian and that your motives are good, but nevertheless, we can't let you go. We wrote back to them and said, thank you for acknowledging that that our motives are good and that we're humanitarian. However, the very reason we're going is because we don't have much faith in your delivering humanity. So basically, thank you very much, but no thank you, we're going to go anyway. And but we were delighted to get that response from Israel, the official response from them. And so eventually the boats were brought to Cyprus, to Larnaca, and we painted them up and we fixed them up the best we could, put satellite equipment on them because we figured we're going to be out there in the open sea, and no matter what Israel does to us, we won't have any way to contact anybody and send out SOSs. And as I said, we didn't know what we were doing at all. But I think around the 28th not sure of the date, actually, I forget, I can find out, of August of 2008, 44 of us set sail on these two little boats, flying the flags of every country represented by our passengers and crew, red carnations. And we threw into the water a carnation, and we read the name of a Palestinian fisherman who had been killed by Israel. And on the other boat, we read names and threw carnations into the ocean of all of the American sailors who had been killed aboard the USS Liberty, which had been attacked by Israel off the coast of Gaza, I think in 1967, I think it was, and Israel had never been made accountable for that, even though it was a deliberate attack on Liberty. And they are still, the survivors of the Liberty are still all the time, even on the radio station that they broadcast every week, this subject always comes up. I had not known about this, but when we got our second boat and we didn't know what to call it, and one of our group, one of our Israeli men said, why don't we call it the Liberty? And we thought that was a wonderful idea. And I've always felt that this was one reason that it was one of the other things that kept us safe, because Israel is very, very sensitive. Anybody brings up the Liberty, Israel tremendously defensive and says, oh, we didn't know it was an American ship, which of course is an absolute lie, because they were in communication with them, they were flying the American flag, but they claimed that they didn't realize they were Americans. And so they're so defensive. So we thought that if we were sailing another Liberty, it might be just another reason that they would be hesitant to attack us, because they would then be accused of attacking another boat named Liberty.